Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is actually the third time I've attempted to film this video, but I am super excited to share with you 147 Things by Jim Chapman. Last week I received this in the post. A lovely lady called Cassie from The Big Shot emailed me and asked if she could send me a copy of Jim's book, and my mind was blown. Little old me, sitting in my office, just writing blog posts, filming YouTube videos for fun. Somebody wanted to send me one of the most popular YouTubers at the moment, his new book. Can we just take a minute to let that sink in? I have never been so excited for my postman to shove a parcel through the door, and so disappointed when it hadn't arrived yet. So as well as 147 Things by Jim Chapman, I was also sent 2 I'm Hangry badges and 4 little A6 doodle cards. So we have Puppy Love, which features Martha. We have The World Is Your Oyster. We also have one that says I'm sorry for what I said when I was hungry. And finally we have Modern Life Stress with a little doodle of the brain. Now all 4 of these doodles and many more all feature in Jim's book. So like many of the bloggers that have been lucky enough to receive a PR gift of Jim's book, I received this on launch day, which was the 5th of October 2017. It is available right now on Amazon for, I believe, £10.99. An absolute bargain for a hardback book. So I will leave the link for the Amazon listing in the description below. There'll also be a link to the SoundCloud, which has an extract of the audiobook, which is read by Jim himself. If you purchase the audiobook, it does also include a Q&A by this lovely man. Now, you guys know I love books. I am a self-proclaimed bookworm. I have hundreds of books on my bookshelf which I've had for many years and still haven't got around to reading. But as soon as this dropped through the door and as soon as I read the introduction, for 4 days solid, I've not been able to put this book down. Now, for some people, 4 days might seem like a very long time to spend reading one book, but for me, that in itself is an achievement. I am known to spend months and months reading one book. The fact I couldn't put this down and was glued to it says enough really. This book is so good. So let's just take a look at the cover. I love that it's super soft. I love the kind of chalkboard effect, and I'm not sure if the light's going to pick it up, but the writing quite shiny. And then it features a lovely photo of Jim, and there's the spine. There we go, kind of. So the 147 Things is shiny, so is the kind of orangey writing. So we've got Jim's name, the title of the book, and another picture of Jim. And then on the back you've just kind of got a little extract from the book. So yes, you may be thinking, but it's just another YouTuber book. Yes it is, but this is a book with a difference. Now, if like me you have followed Jim for many years, you have gotten to know and quite possibly love his witty personality, his sense of humour, his love for oversharing and facts and science and dinosaurs. And like, if I didn't know who Jim was and I just stumbled across one of his videos and I'd only watched 1 or 2, and then I read this book without a picture of Jim on the front, I would know that this was written by Jim Chapman. I hope that makes sense. Is it weird that there's quite a lot of this book that, as I was reading it, I could hear Jim's voice reading it. That's how much of Jim is in this book. So, what is the book about? Well, it's about 147 things. 147 random things, but it's so well written. Each thing rolls and flows into each other so well. It doesn't feel like you're reading a factual book, if that makes sense. There is so much of Jim's personality in it, so much of his wit and his comical moments. I found myself literally turning page after page after page after page. For 3 days, I found myself still reading the book until the early hours of the morning. One morning, I was still awake at 2 o'clock reading this book. So yes, it may feature 147 things that you may already know. But in my case, and I'm sure many others, it featured 147 things that I didn't already know. And Jim tells them in such a way that I laughed, cried all the way through. And it's not just about 147 things. There's much more to this book than meets the eye. If, like me, you followed Jim for many years, then it also gives you an insight into a little bit more of his life and his personality, and there's a lot in here that hasn't been told in his videos or that you may not know already. So I really enjoyed that. So there's very few books that I found myself laughing and quite possibly crying while reading, and this is one of them. There's tales of Jim experimenting with waxing and tales of Tanya talking in her sleep, which is quite hilarious. I even found myself crying while reading this book. I'm not going to put any spoilers, but you may want to get your tissues ready when reading thing 20. While reading 147 Things by Jim Chapman, I found myself writing notes as to what were my favourite bits throughout the book, so I knew what to mention in this video and my blog post, which will be live by the time this video goes up. So I'll leave the link to my blog post review in the description below. If written content's more your thing, or you want to hear my thoughts in a little bit more depth, I'd be grateful if you went and checked that out. But one thing I noticed while looking back over my notes is my favourite thing seemed to change quite regularly. So apparently thing 3 was one of my favourite chapters so far, and then I changed my mind and it was actually thing 22, which is a thing based on time. I was quite interested by the fact that lobsters could quite possibly live forever. Then my favourite thing changed to thing 39. In the end, by the time I'd finished reading the book, my favourite thing has got to be thing 22. It's a chapter about time and how time really does fly by when you get older. So let's take a look inside the book. So when I received this book, you may have been lucky enough to have seen my reaction and opening of the package live on my Insta stories, and just as I was calming down, I opened the book and realised it was signed. So that's pretty cool. Not only do I feel super lucky to have been sent the book, it's signed. So when it comes to reading, I am the type of person that hates leaving a chapter unread. What I love about 147 Things is the fact that there isn't chapters as such. That title of each thing is slightly bigger, it's bolder, and each thing isn't very long. The longest thing I think is about 2.5 pages, which if you manage to put this book down, it's quite easily just to read a couple of things and then put it down again. but if you're like me, you'll quite possibly find that it's very difficult to put down and you'll be reading it for 4 days straight. So overall, is it worth buying yourself a copy? I think so. Yes, there may be 147 things in this book that you already know. But in my case, there are 147 things in this book that I had no clue about. So I've really enjoyed reading and learning something new. I've really enjoyed learning little bits about Jim, and I have found myself on more than one occasion rushing into Scott and expressing my excitement for discovering something new, and more times than I care to keep count of, I have rushed in and gone, "Did you know?" And chances are he did already know. Throughout my life, I've always had people make fun of the things I like, whether it's the boy band Westlife or whether it's YouTubers that I really enjoy watching. Following a discussion with Scott, he made a good point. Yes, you could Google these things, but what I find really clever is Jim's done the hard work for you. He's done all the research and he's written it in a way that not only makes it a really interesting read, but really fun to learn new stuff as well. And I think if Jim was one of my teachers at school, I would have spent a lot more time in school rather than skiving or having sick days. And the thing I find most clever about 147 things is how much of Jim's personality literally pours out of each section. For whatever miracle, if you, Jim, stumble across this video, then thank you. Thank you for writing 147 really interesting facts and making it super fun to learn something new. And if you've followed Jim for many years, then I highly recommend that you go and purchase a copy of this book. In fact, purchase multiple copies and give them to your mum, your gran, your granddad, your next door neighbour, your next door neighbour's cat. Everyone needs to read this book. So I feel like I've rambled enough, my battery's flashing, and I feel like I've kind of managed to say everything I wanted to say. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have purchased and read Jim's book, let me know in the comments what you thought. Let's have a little discussion. All the links to purchase it and read my blog post will be in the description box below. As always guys, please remember to click that subscribe button. I upload videos to this channel every Sunday at 10 AM. Over here will be my previous video, so be sure to go and check that out as well. And I guess that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day guys, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.